Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our longer show where we go over some of the biggest and best books that are coming out this week. So head on over to infinityflux.net. Get your copies while supplies last, whether we ship them to you or you pick them up in store. We want to let you know about all the good stuff that is coming out, and we've got some big ones this week,
yeah.
some big number ones,
Yeah.
and just it's a big Marvel week.
It is a
I feel
big
like
Marvel week, yeah.
Marvel took a big swing this
Yeah.
week with a bunch of number ones. And I apologize for my voice. I have sinuses. Okay, so I'm going to kick it off this time with Ultimate X-Men number 1. Like we said before, last time on X-Men.
Last time on X-Men.
So this is really interesting. I think most people like this is the big book of the week because we had Ultimate Spider-Man, we had Ultimate Black Panther, very big books.
Yep.
But this one was kind of the wild card out of those because Ultimate Spider-Man, you look at it, there's some changes, but it looks like Spider-Man.
It's still Peter.
Black
It's
Panther
still Mary
looks
Jane.
like
Yeah.
Black Panther. This is the first one that's kind of a twist on that. And of course, you're going to get that with Peach Momoko doing the writing and the art and the coloring, all of that. So this follows Hisako Ichiki, who is Armor in the 616 universe, which is really interesting because she was kind of a late addition. She didn't come around till the 2000s.
I think part of that 2012 run, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. So it's interesting to start with her, but we were talking about it. If you picked this up and didn't see the cover, you may not know that this is an X-Men book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, other than using an established X-Men character from the 616 universe and having the name X-Men on the cover, there is nothing that would tell you this is an X-Men book whatsoever. This doesn't relate to X-Men anyway, other than using armor and being called X-Men.
This feels like a Boom series or an Image series, something like that. Now, that doesn't mean it can't start swinging back over to that way, because in this one we see Hisako, and she's graduating, I believe, middle school. And it kind of just goes right into it. She receives a mysterious note that says, "Come and meet me somewhere." She does the unsafe thing and goes and meets a shadowy figure who gives her what essentially is it looks like armor, like when she's in her big armor, but it's like a little
a little charm.
A little charm.
Yeah.
Is this tied in with this friend she had that died, or there's still a lot of questions in this first issue about even I'd say we only get her name, we don't get anybody else's. Like it's a pretty quick read for a number one, and stuff happens, but I feel like it's like you're missing a crucial piece of the story. A lot of people are talking around something, especially this armor medallion thing, but we don't know, has she had this before? Any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a very interesting, very different than our other number ones in the Ultimate Universe, but I think this has a lot of potential. We'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this could be another, the other two Ultimate books, Spider-Man and Black Panther, have been kind of slow burns into what looks like a larger story.
Yeah.
And this one also could be a slow burn into a more traditional X-Men story. Who knows, maybe in 3 issues, Professor X will come say, "Hello, my name's Professor X, and I want to tell you about my school." Like, we don't know. But it could be another slow burn. But at least in the other 2 books, there was a lot of familiar stuff. Oh, there's Peter, and there's Mary Jane, there's T'Challa, there's Wakanda. And this one, it's like, I don't really recognize any of this except for that character who a lot of people may not even know anyway. So this one was quite a bit different than the others. Yeah.
I liked it, but I do hope they get to some X-Men stuff, or if we get maybe, if this is Ultimate X-Men, but maybe down the line we get like Ultimate Wolverine, and that's a little bit more traditional.
Yeah.
But I commend them for taking big chances with this, and I think this may appeal to an audience that has never read an X-Men book
Good.
before.
Yeah.
So try it out. I think it's going to be a big one, like all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Stores are going to sell out of it. The other thing I want to mention, and we'll get into it with the variants, the character we've seen on a lot of the covers, May Storm,
Maystorm.
is not in this issue.
Right.
So
She pops up in issue number 2, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't think there's any like first appearances in this. Of course,
I mean, other than
Ultimate Armor.
the first appearance of this version of this character, but there's nobody really new.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe her friend Tsubasa, but
Yeah.
he wasn't even really in the story, and I don't know if he's part of her 616 story. So
Yeah. So we've got some really nice variants, though, which promise a lot of really cool stuff coming up. So we've got the Mark Brooks variant. All of these are so nice.
And that's Maystorm, and again, she's not in this issue.
We have the Inhyuk Lee variant. And her armor seems somewhat sentient.
Yeah, because in 616, when it's like an armor around her, so she moves her arm and it moves her arm. But this one, yeah, you're right. It seems more like a not living, but like a sentient being that moves, that's moving around her.
Like even stops something before it hits
even
her.
if she's like stationary, it's still moving. So it's a little different.
Reminded me of like Baymax.
Yeah.
Year 6.
Yeah.
We also have this Betsy Cola variant, which, I mean, it's big to put her on the cover and only her, and she doesn't appear in it.
Yeah.
We've got another Peach Momoko. Peach Momoko loving to draw eyes.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a character in it.
And that's the little charm she gets too.
Yeah. I love this one. This is the Dyke Ruin variant.
Yeah.
You get kind of a good sense of a lot of what happens in this. The boy on the bike and all of that.
Yeah.
And then we've got some incentives. We've got this 1 in 10 Momoko concept art variant, but I like it because it has like kanji on it and stuff, where she's making her notes. And we're selling that for $8. And then we also have a 1 in 25 Aka variant that we're selling for $25.
All right, so next up is the Spectacular Spider-Men, plural, #1. This book was fantastic. So this is written by Greg Weisman of Gargoyles fame. He was a writer on the 2008 Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, which is the best Spider-Man animated series there's ever been. Feel free to at me. I can defend that show until I'm blue in the face. And the art is by Humberto Ramos, who is, one of the greatest Spider-Man artists that there's ever been. He's up there on the Mount Rushmore of Spider-Man artists. The crux of this whole series is that it is a team-up book between Peter and Miles. This is going to, every book is going to feature Peter and Miles together doing something. This issue goes back and forth between Peter and Miles actually talking about how they should meet up outside of their costumes, do normal people stuff, get coffee, talk about each other's lives. That's part of the book. The other part of the book is them actually in costume fighting this big, like, hulked out, monsterized version of the Jackal, and they don't know why he's like that. So the book goes back and forth between those two story points. But it's really well written. That's the thing I took away from this. Like, the dialogue between Peter and Miles is exactly what you think it would be. Like, they act exactly how you think they should act. The banter is funny. The artwork by Humberto Ramos is really just amazing. Like
it takes me back to reading the Dan Slott,
like
Spider Island.
Oh yeah, all that stuff.
Like time and all that.
It's a lot of fast-paced action, a lot of like good web whipping action and that kind of thing. There are a couple of pages in this that show us characters who we don't know, and they're in situations that we don't know about.
Yeah,
and they're just
disjointed.
Yeah, they're just kind of thrown in there. So I think more to come on those in the future. I think maybe next issue we'll see a couple more of those, and it'll eventually all come together to make a larger story than what's being told in this. But it was awesome. I mean, it's Spider-Man's had some ups and downs over the last couple of years, and this feels like a return to just fun, refreshing, classic Spider-Man, both Peter and Miles. I've said that after one issue, this is already my favorite 616 Spider-Man book on the stands. I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
There's a part where Peter is convinced he's going to go to this like coffee shop and become a regular,
Yeah.
and he will do anything to become a
Yeah.
regular, and the guy just like refuses to
Yeah.
remember him or his
He
order.
works really hard at being a regular in this coffee
And
shop.
it's funny because it does show a little bit of the age difference where Peter goes into order and then they call Miles' order.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I just use the app
Yeah.
and stuff." So I like this because it also does feel like, this is like a 30-something-year-old Peter Parker rather than like, oh, he's back to being a teenager.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say it's $4.99, but it does feel larger
I
than your
think it
standard
is.
22 page, and there's not really many ads, so you get a lot of good story for $5. Great art, great writing, everything about it was phenomenal. So, Spectacular Spider-Man #1, that's your A cover right there with Humberto Ramos on art. We got some really nice variants as well. We have this Daikuran variant, and I hope this is the one that I pre-ordered because I don't remember, but I love that cover a lot. We also have this Sean Galloway variant. We have a blank sketch variant, so you can draw your own Peter and Miles team up. We have this really nice Todd Knock homage variant. And then to go with that, we have a Todd Knock Miles homage variant. But this one's an incentive, though. This one is a 1 in 50 that we're selling for $40. The other one was just a regular variant. But yeah, a very, very awesome new Spider-Man series.
Yeah, I think that would be my pick of the week if we
Yep.
did picks of the week, and I think it's going to be soon to be people's favorite uh, Spider-Man book next to Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, of everything that I've read this week so far, this is my favorite.
Yeah. Okay, so next up, I've got an interesting one. This is Weapon X-Men #1. So this is by Christos Gage, and the art is by Yildiray Cinar. And this is somewhat of a follow-up to that book. What was it called? Original X-Men or Classic X? What was that book called? The one that had like the original. It was a one-shot.
Oh, it
And
was a
had,
one shot. Yeah, like yeah, original X-Men
I
or
think it was
something like
original
that.
X-Men.
Yeah.
This is somewhat a follow-up to that. You don't have to have read it to get this, but it does kind of set up some of the story in it. And in this, the Phoenix from a different dimension, I guess, a different universe, recruits a bunch of different Wolverines from various different dimensions, I guess. I'm not sure, like, I
So
don't.
not different Earths.
Yeah, different Earths, but I don't think there's like there's not like the 616 one in here. It does kind of tell you where some of them are from, but some of them I didn't know. So we have the Earth X Wolverine, which I didn't read Earth X, but this guy is a real like schlubby Wolverine. Like even
Yeah.
his hair's like flopped
Yeah.
over. Uh, You've got him. We've got Zombie Wolverine from I guess the Marvel
Marvel
Zombies
Zombies. universe.
We've got Old Man Logan, which I know, which is always like weird when they bring him in because you're like, I think your story ended like 5 times
Right.
in different things. We have also the 1909 Jane Howlett, which is the female version of Wolverine from 1909, and I believe this is her first appearance. We also this it's kind of led by the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, and it's a weird group, but Phoenix says, the Phoenix Force picked this team for a reason. I don't know what it is, but you're all needed. And it's because Onslaught, which I believe was in original X-Men, a version of Onslaught that's part, um, I believe, Magneto and part Phoenix, or part Professor X, part Phoenix, because it's not like regular Onslaught. It's
Yeah,
a
the
little
original was Magneto and Professor X.
right. I think,
It's not
but
that.
Phoenix is in this one this
Okay.
time. And basically, uh, the Phoenix is like, I need you to go through all these different worlds and try to find Onslaught. He's hiding somewhere. And I picked you because you're the best tracker out of any of the universes. So I'm getting all these Wolverines, and also you're not afraid to do the the bloody stuff
Yeah.
if it comes to it. So in this first one, we do see them go to a world where the Avengers and mutants, like humankind and mutants, teamed up because there's a larger threat. We do get a new version of the Avengers on this world that's really interesting. Some familiar faces and some a little bit more I had to look up because I was like, is this a first appearance? Oh no, this is a character from like 2010.
No.
But really interesting. This is definitely going to be a mini series, kind of a dimension hopping, world hopping story with these X-Men, and I'm really interested to see where it winds up. But it's fun. The art is really good. If you've had too much of multiverse stuff, you may want to avoid it. But if you like Wolverine, you get a bunch of them in this, and pretty fun. So this is our A cover. I really like that A cover.
Yeah. The female Wolverine on that, we saw her in a panel in that that one shot with Madam Web, the Women of Marvel
Yeah,
book. She was in one of those panels on that Madam Web story.
I love this one. This is the John Boy Myers
Yeah, that's
cover.
great.
We've got a Mark Brooks headshot variant. Gonna have a lot of Mark Brooks this week. And we have a 1 in 25 Bradshaw variant, selling for $20. You can see down there towards the bottom, that's the Earth X Wolverine.
Yeah. He looks great.
Yeah, he looks even weirder in the issue because his hair, instead of going up, goes straight
It's just
out
like
and then
drooping
flops
down. Yeah.
down.
All right. Well, next for me is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution #1. That is a mouthful. This is actually written by Tom Waltz and Kevin Eastman. The art is by Isao and Isaac Escorza and also Ben Bishop. So this one is actually set 15 years ish after the original Last Ronin book, where, and we saw at the end of that one, I know there's been a few little one shots in minis in between those, but if you think about just the original Last Ronin series, at the very end of that we saw some little turtles. Wasn't it at the very end of that series?
Yeah.
Well, it's 15 years later, and now they are teenagers as well. Now, this issue in particular is mostly a setup for a larger story to come, introducing us to the world, the new turtles now as teenagers. There's lots of corruption in the city government, and there's a lot of various gangs just sort of controlling the streets. Casey Marie, who is the daughter of April O'Neil and Casey Jones, she was also the mentor of the young turtles. She and her crew, they kind of try to fight back against all these gangs. So think of it as like there's like a group of various groups of rebels, if you will. They don't call them rebels, but that's the way I think about it, fighting it back against all these various gangs. But it's a never-ending battle because they're constantly fighting, and they say it seems like there's, us rebels. It seems like there's always more villains to fight than there are people to fight them, basically. So they're fighting all the time, and meanwhile, the four new turtles, like I said, they're now teenagers, and they've been training in ninjutsu their whole lives. But they're teenagers. They act like teenagers do. They're sneaking out, but they're also like itching to get out in the world and make a difference. And they get their chance to make a difference one day when one of the rebel factions is attacked by one of the gangs, and there's nobody available to fight them off except for Casey Marie and the new turtles. And they finally get their first taste of real action, and this is kind of sort of the first time we see them in real action too. There was that one shot just a few weeks ago where they tangled a little bit with some random thugs, but this is the first time.
I think they're a bit older in this than they were in
Yeah,
that.
and they have their full gear and weapons, and Casey Marie thinks that they're not ready, but maybe they do a pretty good job. So like I said, just getting us it's starting a new story, but this is just sort of more introducing us to the turtles and the world and things like that. I will say this isn't this is an $8.99 book, but it's 40 pages and there's no ads, so it's a pretty nicely sized book. It's a little bit larger too than your standard size comic.
I think that's maybe the same shape the first
Yeah,
Ronin was.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's a really good one. If you've enjoyed all the other Last Ronin stuff, definitely be sure to pick this up because it is a great continuation of that world. So there's our A cover right there, and we have a couple cool variants. Here's one from Kevin Eastman. It's always cool to see Kevin Eastman drawing the new turtles, in his style.
I always think it's like the official look for them.
Yeah,
He draws them.
yeah. And then we have this Luis Antonio Delgado sort of video game style cover as well. Actually, does it have their names on? I wish I had their names on it because I still have trouble grasping their names.
It's like Uno, Ichi.
Well, no, there's Uno. I think this one's Uno, and then Yi, and then shoot, I can't remember, and then Odin.
Okay.
I think this one starts with an M. I don't quite remember, but yeah. So yeah, just another good.
It's all one.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
just another good entry into the Last Ronin universe.
Well, next up for me, I've got Miss Marvel Mutant Menace #1. This is the follow-up series to Miss Marvel, the New Mutant.
Right.
This is also written by Iman Vellani and Pirzada, and the art this time is by uh, Godlewski, Goldsky, I guess.
Godlewski?
Godlewski, that's it. Really good art, and this one does definitely feel like it could come right after the other one. So, Miss Marvel is now under the banner of Mutant. She's changed her clothes. She's got this like X-Men like thing on her costume. But this is, she's from Jersey City, and this has really divided her city. Uh, there's some who are like, we need to report her to Orcus because mutants are bad, and other people are like one of the cops. One cop is like, we need to arrest her. The other one's like, she saved my life so many times. I don't care what she is. She gets a pass from
Yeah.
me. So it's kind of taking that whole big story the X Men are telling and make it on a really personal level. But she's grappling with this too because uh, she is now known as being a mutant, doesn't matter what color she's wearing. And, but she can't help herself. She still wants to fight crime and protect her city. But now there is an app called Mutant Watch that people can, like, report
Oh wow.
mutant activity. And so she kind of has to, like, uh, pop out, do something good, and then disappear. She's still living in the Morlock tunnels with the X-Men and Deadpool and all that, which is some really fun stuff. Uh, but there is something going on with her where her powers are kind of glitching out on occasion. It's almost like, she's really pliable, and it's just like they kind of like splat out. They just kind of like become amorphous, and she doesn't know why, but I feel like that's going to be the bigger story in this. But this one just kind of gets you back into the world that Miss Marvel's currently having to live in. She's a good person, but the town quickly turns on her.
Yeah.
But it's still really fun. It feels like reading like Peter Parker when he was young,
Yeah.
and dealing with a lot of the menace type stuff. But I really liked it. I've liked all of the Miss Marvel stuff recently, so I suggest picking this one up too. You don't have to have read the previous series; they get you caught up pretty well. But if you did read the last one, you liked it, just go on and get this one because it's the natural next part of that. So this is our A cover. We also have this Derek Chew variant.
I like that.
Yeah. We've got the Lobos variant, which looks a lot like Ahmad Vellani. And more Peach Momoko. She doesn't quite look that rough in this one. Not yet, at least.
All right, so next up for me is The Batman First Night #1. This is written by Dan Jurgens and the artist by Mike Perkins. This is a black label book. So it can tell, whatever story it wants to tell. And the story that this wants to tell is a story of Batman in his early days. But this is actually set back in 1939, like almost real world 1939. They reference World War One. They talk about the rise of Nazis, and you can tell they're about to enter World War II. They talk about the Great Depression, that kind of thing. I will say I had a little bit of a wrong impression about this book. It's not an origin story. Like Batman's already Batman in this, but it's still just his early days where he's still more of a myth in Gotham City than anything else. Like Commissioner Gordon doesn't know him yet, and that kind of thing. So it's early days for Batman in almost real world 1939. And in the story, someone has been killing city councilmen, and they don't know who it is. But the reports of every time there's an eyewitness, they say, "Oh, it was these two big hulking brutes that are doing it." So of course Batman has to get involved to try to figure out who it is. He has to do a little bit of detective work, and he starts to narrow down a lead, but he still doesn't know who these guys are working for. He does fight them at one point, but he doesn't know who they are. or like I said, who is sending them out there to actually do this. So there's still a lot more detective work to go on, but just a really good. It's cool to see Batman kind of as a period piece set in the 30s.
Seeing like the purple gloves and
Yeah,
different ears and
he's got
stuff.
the tall ears that kind of come out
Yeah.
like this, and then the short purple gloves, and he doesn't look all ripped up. It looks more like a cloth costume and that kind of thing.
I know
So
from just skimming through this, it's pretty brutal.
yeah,
Like that, it's a black label, definitely
yeah,
for that reason.
there's a lot of violence. There's language and all that kind of stuff, but it's black label so that it can do that. So just a really cool different take on Batman. I quite enjoyed it. So we have our A cover right there, and we have a couple of cool variants. This one looks like a cool, like an old school, like magazine, like horror magazine. This is, oh shoot, let me see the artist. This is from Mark Aspinall, and I really like it. And it looks like it's sort of weathered around the corners and torn up a little bit. And then I like this one too from Ramon Perez.
Yeah,
That one looks very cool too.
it's kind of like that classic him and Robin against the wall.
Yeah,
Okay, next up, I've got giant size Spider-Gwen #1. So this is I thought this was really fun. I haven't read any of the giant size ones yet, but I really like this one. Um, this is set in what is Earth 65?
that's where she's from.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
it's set in Earth 65. This is written by Melissa Flores, and the art is by Alba Glez. And I would say the art in this is very cartoony, but not like simple, but exaggerated proportions and that
very
kind of
highly
very
stylized.
highly
Yeah.
stylized. But I thought it looked really good for the story they're telling. So on Earth 65, of course, you've got uh, Gwen, who is the drummer for the Mary Janes, and the front of the band is Mary Jane. In a previous series, she got infected by Carnage symbiote. That was a whole thing. Well, that comes back and starts taking over again. She can't control it. And this time it was seen on, they were like performing on TV, and everyone saw her transform at least for
Oh
a
yeah.
second. And one person really takes note of this, and this is Orlando Octavius, the adoptive son of Otto Octavius. And it's not quite clear what he wants her for, but it's very much like evil experiments type thing. He shows up, of course, he's got his own arms, and it is up to Gwen to protect Mary Jane, even in her carnage form, from being taken by this guy. And it's really fun because instead of fighting, they're working together, but Gwen still has to deal with like teamed up with a Carnage who
Hmm.
constantly just wants to like eat people's heads and stuff like that. So that was really fun. There's a few other fun cameos from characters, even ones I had to kind of look up because I didn't quite recognize them, and then see, oh, this is like the Earth 65 version of someone else. And it's got a very heartwarming end, which, knowing that Gwen is going to be going to the 616 universe permanently in her next series, uh, is a very like knowing that makes the end of this very somber,
Hmm.
but a very emotional and nice ending to this one. No, like, oh, we're leading into another one of these. We know that she's going on to have her own series coming up soon. But I thought this was a really fun one shot. And I guess just wrapping up her time in Earth 65. So that is our A cover by Brian Hitch. And we have another variant. There we go. This is the Kai Zoma variant.
That looks cool.
Yeah. It's very almost like, I don't know, Sailor Moon, or like when they like transform.
Yeah. All right, so next up is Golgotha. Golgotha Motor Mountain #1. This is written by Matthew Ehrman and Lonnie Nadler, and the art is by Robbie Rodriguez. Now, this is about two brothers named Vern and Elwood, and they live in kind of this small backwater town of Golgotha, Kentucky. And they cook meth for a living. They cook crystal meth. But they
We've all
are,
seen Breaking Bad. We
yeah,
understand how
but
they
they do. There is one point where they very much say, we only cook, we don't sell, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Well, one day though, this meteor from space like literally crashes into their barn where they're in the middle of cooking, and it ruins everything. And they know they have they've got to get this stuff out there. They have a quota to make and all that kind of stuff. So one of the brothers gets the idea that hey, we'll crush up this meteor and sell it because it kind of sort of looks like this special type of meth that we cook. I feel like we're gonna get banned on YouTube for this. But they say, all right, so we're going to crush this up and we're going to pass it off as the meth that we've been cooking. And when they go out to sell it to the people they sell it to, and the people that they sell it to actually ingest it, we see that it does some not so great things to their body. And more to come. Like that was near the end of the book, so I don't really know how widespread this is going to be yet.
It's like a mutagen.
Yeah, that's right. And we do learn there's a lot of narration in this, like third party narration, and we do learn that there is more to that meteor than just being a big rock in space that fell to Earth. There's more to it, and that's what is causing a lot of this. There's some body horror stuff, and I feel like there's going to be more of that as the series goes on. But again, that was near the end of the issue, so the next issue is going to really get into the real meat and potatoes of what all this is. But just a really different series, a really kind of out there series. So yeah, don't miss it if that sounds good to you. So there is our A cover right there, and then we have this variant cover, which I don't quite understand. This is by Nicholas Esmeja, and I don't really quite understand this. Oops, I don't understand this cover really because that's not really what the book looks like. So I don't really know, but maybe next issue will make sense.
When Solid Snake comes into it.
Yeah.
Okay, next up for me is Star Wars issue 44. I really like this issue. So, Star Wars is written by Charles Soule, and this is the trial of Lando. Charles Soule was a former lawyer, and so you can tell this is definitely written with a lot of knowledge about how law is done even in a galaxy far, far away. So in this, Lando is on trial because to save Lobot from Jabba the Hutt, he had to disclose some rebel secrets to Jabba, and now he is imprisoned, and he's going to go on trial. But they're worried that a lot of people really like Lando in the Alliance, and to see him basically just like this big public trial could turn people against the Alliance. Because there's nothing holding them together other than their belief in the cause, but they're not an official group. So they decide they're going to have a small trial with basically 3 judges and Lando, and he can get his own lawyer. So he gets a really interesting lawyer who I believe has shown up in the series before. But even his lawyer basically says, "There's no way you're getting out of this. Like you confessed to doing this. Like we all know you did it." So I forgot how she words it. It's like you don't have to convince them you're not guilty. You just have to make them not care you're guilty.
Oh.
And with that, there is a big interruption in the trial that is setting up for what happens later in the series. But I thought this was a really fun issue. I was really into this trial and how they were setting it all up and the evidence and all of that. They bring in some witnesses. Just really, really cool to be in a Star Wars comic. So that is our A cover. We also have this Rebels 10th anniversary cover with Hera. Very cool. And we have this, let's say 1 in 25 Marquez variant, selling for $15. You can see him on trial.
Yeah, all by himself. Well, next for me is What If Aliens #1, or as I like to call it, What If Aliens?
What if aliens?
If aliens, But this is actually co-written by Paul Reiser, who played the character of Carter Burke in Aliens, the second one. And this is what if Carter Burke had lived, because spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie, his character died in Aliens. Well, this says, what if he didn't die? And this actually takes us right back to Aliens, the movie, right before the moment that he actually did die. But instead of playing out the same way as the movie, he lived in this one. And he actually, and it's kind of weird to talk about. I mean, like that's the story. What if he lived? And it's hard to tell much more about it without spoiling everything. But I will say he does live a long life after that. It's not necessarily a great one because the Wayland Yutani Corporation, they pin all the deaths at Hadley's Hope on him. They say it was his fault that all the people in the Hadley's Hope colony on that planet, they say he's responsible for it. But something does happen near the end, and it looks like things may be about to turn around for him. So I actually really like this one quite a bit. You don't really need to have read any of the other Alien books from Marvel. This is more related to the movie itself. So if you've seen the movie, you can pick this up and see a different story of what happened. So I was into it, and the characters, they sort of look like they're the actors that played them. It was really neat. So more to come on how his life is about to change. But there's our A cover right there, and I believe that is the only one we have to show.
Yeah, I think in the history of movie evil companies, Wayland Yutani is really high up there in
Yeah,
just terrible companies.
yeah, they're bad in this too. They are not good people.
So next up, I've got Void Rivals. This is the return of Void Rivals with issue number 7. I realized I didn't make notes on this, but the good thing about it is I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah,
so this picks up where the previous Void Rivals left off with Salila and Derek. Now on, I guess you just say like the northmost part of the Void cities. They call it something. It's kind of like a
yeah,
Badlands.
yeah. They try to cross this vast wasteland.
Yeah.
That
I guess is like kind of between the two
the
empires
two
or what
sides.
the
Yeah,
two
yeah.
sides. And it seems like Derek has been there before.
Hmm.
We get some flashback to maybe when he was a little bit younger. That's really interesting, but it doesn't look very good for them crossing this.
Yeah, and not only that, but the leader of the Zertonians, his name is Zalalak.
Yeah,
He dispatches an assassin named Proximus to hunt them down. So not only it's a hard enough journey as it is, and now there's this like elite assassin coming after him to try to take him
yeah.
out too.
The assassin 2 is really cool. If you read some of the letters page, Kirkman's like, I can't wait for you to see what he does to them. And
I didn't read
so,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
sounds
him
like
on the
this
cover right there. That's what he looks like.
Yeah,
He
it
looks
sounds like
really
he's
cool.
going to be a big character going
Mm.
forward, which I like. We had the first story arc that was, we were basically focused on our two main characters, and now we're starting to introduce new ones,
Yeah,
which I think is good. Like I now remember their names, everything.
yeah.
Now you can introduce a new character. But I don't know. It seems like Derek has a plan that I know reading it. I was like, I don't know what you're gonna do, but
Yeah.
sounds really cool, and I can't wait to read more. And I'm so glad it's back. So that is our A cover. We have this Nate Bella.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Uh
Bless you.
we'll call it the Nate variant because my marker smeared at the
Uh
bottom. Bella something.
oh. Something.
Oh wait, it's right here. This is Bellegarde. Nate Bellegarde, which I really like. At first, I thought it was a Daniel Ward Johnson because of
Oh,
like how intricate it
yeah.
looks. We also have this is the 1 in 25 Allen variant. We're selling for $15. And we have this 1 in 10 our Huo variant that we're selling for $8. That's cool. You can see him kind of hunting them in the
Yeah.
background.
We've said it before, the obviously Transformers, Duke, and Cobra Commander are good, but don't sleep on Void Rivals either.
Yeah.
It's part of the Energon universe, and it's telling a really interesting story too. So yeah, don't miss that. I think the trade for the first 6
Yeah.
issues is out, and now you got number 7. So yeah, very 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 good. Next for me is Batman number 145. This is the start of the next story arc in this grand story that Chip Zdarsky's been telling. It's called Dark Prisons. So the Joker Year One story is over. We are now at the beginning of this Dark Prisons arc, and Batman's trapped in a prison cell at the bottom of Black Gate. He's in a cell with the Joker. He's been there the whole time during the Joker Year One storyline. He was with the Joker in the cell. Um, and we also finally see Failsafe in his new body. Failsafe is in possession of the Zur-En-Ah personality, so he's more dangerous than ever.
And we know that's leading to
That's leading to absolute
Absolute
power.
power.
Yeah. So, and he failsafe goes out in the city, and people are kind of thinking like, hey, is this Batman? He seems a little bit more dangerous. And failsafe actually alerts the entire city that crime stops now in the city. I'm going to take down all the crime, and he starts with the Riddler, which is pretty cool. So yeah, he's all of Batman's skills without his moral compass, without his restraint and that kind of thing. And meanwhile, Batman is still locked up in Blackgate. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like I liked being back on track with Batman and pushing the story forward. So I thought it was really good. This is our A cover right here. And we have a couple cool variants. This is the Yasmin Putri variant. This is the Bruno Redondo. There you go. Nice variant there. And then this is the 1 in 25 Scalera variant that we're selling for $15.
Okay, next up for me, one I didn't get to read as in depth as I wanted to, but this is X-Men number 32. And this is really cool because, as you can see down the corner, what does it say? Plus Lockheed returns. This is just a really sweet issue. I mean, it's weird to say it's sweet when there's like swords and violence and stuff,
Yeah.
but you do get the reuniting of Cape Pride and Lockheed,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
great.
great.
Yeah.
Also, you see uh, the what is it? The Sentinel Buster from Iron Man makes an
Yes.
appearance in here,
That's great.
and you see Magic take out a Sentinel, one of the Iron Man Sentinels, in one of the coolest ways I've ever seen, using her powers and
Very
stuff. So
cool.
it's a really fun like. What is Magic and Kate Pride doing at this point? We get some Emma Frost, how she's dealing with like, they're kind of like now have turned the tides and they're going after Orcus, and you see a lot of that in this issue. And this is the only cover I have for it right now.
Well, next for me is Avengers number 11. And this is a fun, um, mostly one and done story, but I feel like it's setting something up to come later. But as far as what they do in this, I'm pretty sure it's just one and done. But Jarvis and his assistant, Mr. Sweeney, we haven't seen Jarvis in a long time. Well, they come to the Impossible City to teach the Impossible City how to take care of the Avengers, because the Impossible City is kind of a sentient city that the Avengers are using as their headquarters. So Jarvis is there doing Jarvis things, and it's great to see him back. But the Mad Thinker pops up, and I love the Mad Thinker. All the way back to the Silver Age, I've always thought he was such a cool villain. He enacts a plan to attack the Avengers, and he very craftily uses Jarvis and Mr. Sweeney in order to do it. All unbeknownst to them, they're not traitors, but they just don't know that they're unwittingly a part of his plan. And it's just really cool. It features the Avengers, in a big fight against some of Mad Thinker's puppets or whatever. And it's really fun. And the next issue, I wanted to say, is the one where the Avengers launch their attack on Orcus. So
Cool.
every single month, we are inching ever closer to the end of Orcus, the end of the current X-Men. Iron Man's weaved into that, and now the Avengers are going to be weaved into that next month. So big
Feels like
things
it's
to
actually
come.
going to have like a really climactic
Yeah,
ending, which
yeah,
I really
absolutely.
like. I hate in some books where it's like something huge is going on over here, and you're like, why don't I see that anywhere
Yeah.
else? But it seems like these are all coming together
Yeah,
to
and
take out Orcus.
they even Captain Marvel even mentions that to Tony. She's like, "Hey, don't you think the X Men are our friends? Shouldn't we be doing something?" And he's like, "In due time,
Yeah.
So
Tony's like, believe me, I've been in this for
yeah,
a
yeah.
while.
So a fun one and done story before things really hit the fan. And I love the Mad Thinker though; like he's a great villain.
Yeah.
So really fun. And this is the only cover I have to show.
And lastly, for me, I've got Sensational She-Hulk number 6, another one that I can't wait to read. Other than just flipping through it real fast, but really fun. This is where She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts decide to go on a space vacation, kind of get away for a little bit, and it's really fun. Their mode of transportation out of Earth's atmosphere is really cool. And it looks like maybe there's a third wheel. I don't know what you would call a someone else appears in this that may shake up their relationship a
Oh
little
wow,
bit.
okay.
We'll have to see. It's kind of towards the end, but that is our A cover by Jed Martell, and then we have this Mark Brooks headshot variant.
And last for me, just wanted to shout out Doctor Strange number 13 real quick because this is the start of a brand new story arc. It's a great jumping on point if you want to read some Doctor Strange. And in this story, New York City has been transformed to, or at least part of the city has been transformed to look like a game called Kobalarum, which is a D&D type game, but one that actually uses real magic. Doctor Strange even talks about how the role playing games were big in the 80s and they said the satanic panic and all that, and people got all they thought all these games were dabbling in magic and parents didn't want their kids to play, and it was all nonsense, except for this game actually did dabble in some magic, and now the city, it looks like this big fantasy world. And to find out what's going on, Doctor Strange says that he has to follow the rules of the game and assemble a party to take on the challenges. So he's the magic user. He reaches out to Black Cat as the thief in the party. He reaches out to Taskmaster as the fighter, and then Hunter's Moon as the priest. So you have your
Very
classic
cool.
roles in a classic role playing party, and they have to work together to find the players who are controlling the game. But just like any D&D campaign, it's a lot more complicated than that.
A lot of things thrown in their
Yeah,
path.
a lot of obstacles to overcome. So just a really fun Doctor Strange story. Like I said, they've been doing the general Strange stuff for a while, but that's all done. So a great jumping on point if you want
I
to
love
read
this
Doctor
cover,
Strange.
and it's not
Yeah.
even like actiony. It's just cool to see all those characters together and Alex Ross doing it.
Yeah, and the next cover for the next issue is also Alex Ross, and it's like these characters. It's almost like the mirror image of this with the same characters, but in their fantasy costumes that they
Awesome.
get in this. But it's the mirror of it, but still in the same. So it's really cool, really fun Doctor Strange story. And this is the only cover I have.
Awesome. Well, that is it for our early comics review video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these books while supplies last. I even had more She-Hulk covers, but they were coming. They came and took them away from me
Yeah,
before we even did the video. So they are flying off the shelves.
literally.
Literally, just flying and hitting people. Uh, but yeah, head over there, order your comics, get them shipped to you, or pick them up in store. And stay tuned for our video coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over all the or some of the books that you can pre-order by this weekend, so you don't miss out on any of the good comic stuff. So
Be sure, real quick, if you made it all the way through, leave us a turtle emoji for the new turtles. That'd be
yeah, that's a
fun.
good one.
Yeah.
And until next time, I'm gonna miss the low voice. I don't like the sinuses, but
But the voice is not.
I like the
Until next
sultry
time.
tones.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.